Welcome back. It feels very weird to be back. I want to say thank you to everybody who left like really kind comments on my last video. My last video ended up evolving into what became my master's application. In 2025, I applied to 2 schools and I got in to both, and I accepted USC for their communication data science program. So I just completed my first year of the program. I've been using data science more rigorously to actually analyze culture more closely, which I realized in today's climate, and especially in the arts and culture world, is a very key thing, especially with all of the polarizing sentiment around AI. It's a really cool time to be a woman in that space, and that's a lot of what today's video is actually about. Last year, the Harvard Business School published a meta-analysis in which they found that women are adopting AI at rates 25% less than men, even when exposed to the same literacy and access, which is crazy. Abby Owomosu, author of How to Not Use AI, the Substack and the book, she actually says that this lack in adoption isn't because we're not interested in the technology, but it's more so to do with this ick around the fact that these AI systems are designed to perform these submissive personas that have historically been stereotyped as feminized. I think of the movie Her, I think of Ex Machina, even Blade Runner is a good example of this future that we could be headed towards, in which you have your Alexa, you have your Siri. There's a lot of academic discourse about the fact that these AI assistants are all feminized. They're all docile. They're like secretaries and receptionists. And it quite literally is like Stepford Wives. If you've ever seen that movie, it's one of my favorite films, and I would love to do a deeper analysis on it. If you're interested in that, comment below. That essentially has me curious about the flip side of it. And the flip side of it being, what are women in women's media actually saying about the use cases of this technology? How are they actually embodying it? What is their sentiment towards it? And so I wanted to look at that with a little bit more clarity, with a little data, if you will. I wanted to look at sentiment. And I used YouTube to do that. And my research question was, what is the sentiment of artificial intelligence in long-form YouTube videos and comments centered around women from 2022 to 2026? Let me fill you in a little bit. I'm glad that I'm doing this process because I had a big data quality issue. So I made this incredible data set, and it's the top 300 to 400 YouTube videos that are over 20 minutes long from 2022 to 2026 that have the keywords podcast and AI women health, AI women career, AI women finance. So this is a really interesting data set. I'm seeing Mel Robbins in here. I'm seeing Emma Grede in here. And tell me why at the top of the list is an Andrew Tate podcast that has nothing to do with AI or technology. And it's literally him as a guest on another podcast, and there are 2 women there to talk with him. And I'm watching it through, wondering, first of all, why does this have so many views? But also, it literally has nothing to do with any of my keywords. It just was interesting to me how I was seeking out women-led conversations on AI and technology, and yet the first video in my data set is literally an Andrew Tate video. And honestly, it was really hard to get at least 300 data points for this, which was really proving to me that there weren't nearly enough women-led conversations about AI, not in the long form format and not across different sectors. I'm so intrigued what we'll find. The fact that it was hard to produce an accurate data set was telling about the environment that we're studying here. We weren't able to capture gender in this data set because gender is not something that we can actually attribute to a video. So when we look at the volume of transcripts and comments across each year, we can't actually say that these were videos made by women, but we can say that they were videos that were tagged women, women were somehow involved in the conversation, whether they were centered in it or they were leading it. And that's kind of what we're looking at here. So women's careers, creativity, and education are the leading domains, are like the most prevalent conversations that are being had. Generally, the average sentiment across all of the comments and transcripts declines over time. This isn't really a surprise. I think conversations around AI are getting more critical now that we're having a decline in critical thinking and there's just a bunch of AI slop out there. The transcripts are in pink and then the comments are in blue. And it's kind of funny because the comments are just like people are just consistently kind of like getting more skeptical of this technology, whereas the transcripts of the videos, it's like people are maybe more hopeful in 2024. So there was a shift in framing that happened clearly between 2024 and 2025. And I wanted to zone in on that. So I used LDA topic clusters, which is like a fancy acronym for saying like the words that were surfacing the most frequently and like together. And I looked at them across like 3 groupings in the career specific domains. And what I essentially noticed was that in 2024, there were more relational words like love, women, different, able. Whereas in 2025, those words became more structural. They became words like system, organization, cybersecurity, risk. And at first I thought this was like, oh my God, people are scared about their jobs. Like the sentiment is probably going to be more negative here. And as I started extracting specific clips where these words were used, I noticed that it wasn't so much about fear of job loss, but it was more about cybersecurity and AI governance as like growing career fields. In 2024, in the first cluster of words, the second most popular word was health. And that was replaced with data in 2025.
Editor Karina jumping in here to say that that's essentially the main finding here. And it's not that crazy, but it's really just a shift in framing from 2024 to 2025, from being relational and using words that convey how you're relating to using this, making it more personal, to words that are more systemic and words that talk about it as an organizational thing at large. And honestly, I'm not 100% sure if there's like a consensus to be made about if that's like a positive or a negative thing. I think right now it's just an interesting observation, and we're still so early in the development of the AI boom to maybe draw a conclusion from it. Let me know what you think about that shift in framing from the self to the system.
So I'm curious about how that framing is going to continue to shift into 2026, into 2027. Like, where is the conversation headed and how is it going to unfold if women can get to the forefront of it? And I think like that's the question that keeps me up at night. Thank you so much for watching. Don't be a stranger. Comment below. Tell me about you. Let's say hi to each other in the comments. I'd love for this to feel like a community space where we can talk about what that future, that matriarchal future could look like and how we can reverse engineer to get there. My next video, I'll be traveling up to Ojai for a solo trip, and I want to explore like the conversation that's happening around solo traveling for women. If you have any other video ideas that you'd like me to explore, if you want me to talk more about being at USC, getting into grad school, if you want to hear about bringing together arts with science, we can talk about that. Let me know what you're curious about, what's been keeping you up at night, and let's unpack it together. So anyways, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.